Hello, it's me, I'm Nafid. In this video, we will continue with the ClearPass, and in this part, we will discuss what's so-called OnGuard, or the health check on your machine. Sometimes we call it compliance check, or the health check. And that is using a component that is called OnGuard. Now, OnGuard has its own license as well, so here we would like to cover things like tokens, how these tokens get generated, and how to decide if something is healthy, unhealthy, and so on. The agent, so then you install the agent on the endpoint, and then that agent communicates the information back to ClearPass OnGuard, how things work, and then the compliance with authentication, how to integrate that one with authentication, Kafka portal, as well as including the .1x authentication, how to use the OnGuard with these two different types of authentication, one being the layer 3 authentication, one being a layer 2 authentication. Let's have a look. So the concept here is to generate tokens. These tokens are a result of a policy. We call it posture policy. So these tokens get generated based on the policy that you create. We call posture policy. So in ClearPass, under the configuration, you'll go to the posture, and then this policy or posture policy is what you decide to do. So here in the agent, you're gonna configure what type of agent. We call it OnGuard in our case. You can use external agents as well. Now you also need to specify what operating system that you are going to create this policy for. If you need to create a policy for different operating system like Linux or Mac OS, each one of those should have its own policy, because the way it works, the checks will be completely different than between different operating systems. So this will result into, if you go to the plugin, so Busher plugin, so we decided to go with the Universal System Health Validator. Basically, in other terms, this is what's called the OnGuard. You need to configure what settings you're looking for. And based on that, the result will be what's called tokens. And these tokens, simply speaking, can be healthy or unhealthy and so on. So let's say, for example, I would like to configure things related to Windows 11. And what I'm looking for to check on the machine, antivirus. I can define the antivirus I'm looking for. Is it the built-in antivirus or maybe a third-party antivirus? And of course, you can add multiple checks if you would like. And then based on that, you will generate tokens. So your policy says if you pass all the system health validation checks, which is the OnGuard checks, then assign healthy, and so on. So these, or the result of the policy, will be what's called tokens. These are the tokens that you are going to generate in this case. So an example here, if I have a system that I would like to test, and these tests have passed my health validation, like antivirus installed, firewall enabled, disk encrypted, and so on, I will assign a healthy token, and then that is the OnGuard agent running on the machine showing me something. That information is communicated back with ClearPass OnGuard. On the same basis, if I have issues with my machine based on my policy, so the machine will be checked, and the quarantine in this example token is going to be generated, communicated back to the OnGuard, ClearPass OnGuard. So the information or the token is updated back on the ClearPass OnGuard. So basically, this is now the agent running on the machine. You have the policy created. The communication between the agent on the machine is sent, or the updates of the token information based on the compliance status of that endpoint will be sent back to ClearPass. ClearPass will update that status, so the token will be generated and cached. So what are these agents? Where do we get them from? These are built in ClearPass. Obviously, it will be we need a license for that. The license consumed per MAC address of the authenticated client. that has agent running on it. So the agents can be mainly two types of agents. Dissolvable agent, which is non-persistent, and also native persistent agent. Dissolvable agent, obviously, no permanent installation. It's a web-based agent. One-time compliance, screening is good for that. No action can be taken. And on the other hand, you have persistent agents. So it depends on the client, it depends on the requirement. Agents can be either persistent or dissolvable. And we're going to see also this another third way to go, we call it agentless as well. And for that, in ClearPass itself, in the agent, you need to look at the agent installers here. So you go to Administration, OnGuard Settings under the Agents and Software Updates. You'll go and define your installers. These are the installers you can click. So on the client, this can be automated, the process, or the user can be redirected to that page, install the agent, and the agent will start collecting information on the client itself. I can go agentless as well. That agentless, of course, is limited, but some requirements sometimes I don't want, or they don't want to go with the agent. It's possible to have agentless communication between the machine or the client or the endpoint and ClearPass. Agentless has also a tab here. You can, if you like, execute what's called the agentless. Now the agent, you can do settings for that agent. So what are you looking for? Simply speaking, is it going to be monitoring what things like VPN, wireless, or maybe only wired and so on, and some other settings that pertain to this agent that you're going to run. So when the endpoint installs the agent, these settings will be pushed with the agent. So once the executable is downloaded, they will continue with the installation of the steps. And once that is the case, you make sure that there's there is any firewall between the endpoint and the OnGuard. Make sure that the heartbeat is permissible, of course, and the TCP port for that communication. This is used for communication, used for heartbeat. Make sure these ports are enabled if there's any firewall between the endpoint and the OnGuard that is running on ClearPass. So at this stage, we would like to know how it works. So simply, let's just review what we have covered. You have a policy, which is we call posture policy, that is responsible for generating the agent, the token. So healthy, quarantine, checkup, unhealthy, and so on. So these tokens are generated, but that service will be communicated from the agent. So the agent that is running on the machine will communicate with the service and update the service on the status of the client. Now token has been generated. What to do then? We need to take action. So the action in ClearPass we call enforcement profile. And this type of action is called agent type. Notice it's not radius, for example. Agent type, I can send a message, take action, things bounce to the client, send a message to the client. That is what's called enforcement profile. We all know that in the enforcement profile, to be used, we need to have enforcement policy. So that enforcement policy, again, is an OnGuard enforcement policy. And here we can say if something like a condition takes certain action. And that action is based on certain conditions. So this will set the rules to invoke one or more OnGuard enforcement profile, i.e. actions. Now, the token itself used in the health check. So here we have posture compliance. We're going to create a service that is web-based health service. Why is this service? To process the token generated by the agent running on the machine based on the settings that we have. So that service will process web-based health check. This is the information received from the endpoint and execute whatever enforcement. So in the enforcement policy we created, we will be using that enforcement policy here. So this is the posture, and we're gonna see what is the posture policy that we have created in the previous step, and then that will generate a token. That policy communicates and gets updated basically based on your policy, i.e. settings. And here we have the enforcement policy we take that will dictate the action. So if condition, then take certain action. So now the communication happens between the agent and the ClearPass policy manager. That agent will run based on the agent.conf file, which is a result of the settings that we have created for the agent on the ClearPass. Now that will update the health validation. That will communicate the token value, healthy, unhealthy, quarantine, back. That will be processed here, and any action will be taken by the WebAuth service. So these are, and then the WebAuth service is the one that will take action, things like auto-remediate and so on and so forth. Now I can also monitor the OnGuard activity. So you can see this is the host. So if you go to live monitoring OnGuard activity, you will find all hosts that have OnGuard agent running on them. You can click on this and view what information did you receive back. So it says in here the status online, OnGuard, and so on. You can see more information here if you like attribute and posture information. So the posture information, we can see something like this. So what am I looking at? I'm looking at operating system Windows 10. I'm looking for the firewall application, if it is enabled, and what vendor. So I'm looking for the native firewall in this case. This is the information the OnGuard activity has stored for that specific client. And I can see this one from the live monitoring OnGuard activity. And says in here, what is the status for the different health checks. That information is received from the agent that is running on the endpoint, on the client. Now, when you look into, this is the OnGuard activity. If you look at the endpoint, you'll find there's a policy cache. So what is this? This is the result of an updated policy, like the token here says healthy. And that cache is valid for 5 minutes. Notice, last updated, cache expires. Last updated, and after 5 minutes is going to expire. Now we have the token. We have seen that we can use it in the WebAuth service. That is all related to the communication between the access, between the endpoint and the OnGuard on ClearPass. Now all of that, that's all good. You can bounce the client. You can take certain actions. You can send messages, for example. This is related to the token and the relationship between the client and the OnGuard. Now I can take this one step further by incorporating my token that is generated in the authentication. So simply speaking, if you have decided to go ahead and install the agent on the client, say for example for the guest access, the communication between the agent and ClearPass need to be based on IP, means layer 3 communication. So when the client has got an IP, then that agent is able to communicate with ClearPass. Now, it's always the case, the token starts with unknown. So the client, from the client perspective, from the ClearPass OnGuard, sees the client as unknown. The agent the token will start as unknown. We'll get updates from the agent running here that, for example, is healthy, using web authentication service. This is the one that's responsible for the communication between the ClearPass agent, the ClearPass OnGuard, and the client agent. And then, once that is the case, we are able to allow the client access with no issues. Now, in this case, we can clearly see the client has got layer 3 authentication capability, and then the agent was able to communicate with ClearPass OnGuard. OnGuard has updated the token from unknown, which is the starting point, into healthy. In this case, full access has been granted. In the case of .1x authentication, as we know, this is a layer 2 authentication. It means no IP address at this point. This means definitely we cannot really communicate between the agent and the OnGuard on ClearPass. The reason for this, because there's no IP yet assigned to the client. So we need to start from some point. We will allow access with limited access. So that limited access will allow the client to pick up an IP, DNS, reach the ClearPass, so the agent now can run. And the update happens from being unknown token to healthy token. In this, assume everything is fine. What will happen then in this case, I need to elevate the access to that client. I need to send what's so-called a change of authorization. So I'm going to drop the client. The client will automatically re-authenticate. The cache or the token or the cache for the token has been updated, and we will grant our client full access. Now you can, if you look in this from the authentication flow, .1x authentication, posture is unknown at the beginning. Of course, we will allow access with limited access. Again, that will allow the agent to update the web auth service on ClearPass, and that is updating the token to healthy. Dynamic authorization happens, in this case, i.e. COA. The client gets disconnected and will automatically re-authenticate again. And the fact that the token has been updated, it means it is able to communicate based on the policy. Let's take an example. In this case, I might say in my info, this is normal radius service. And that token is taken from the posture service. So basically, I am incorporating the token with other conditions in my network. So I said, if the role equals corporate and the posture, the token is healthy, allow corporate VLAN, otherwise only allow quarantine VLAN. So in a nutshell, the concept of the OnGuard, we run an agent on the machine. Agent communicate with the web auth service that is responsible for setting the compliance settings, and then that token will be updated. We can then take that token and we can take action like bounce the client, send message to the client, and so on. And we can see all OnGuard activity and so on. But also I can integrate the token in my authentication as one of the enforcement policy conditions based on the fact that I cache that value. So if you notice that when you create, you can you need to cache, use cache role. This is the token generated, and we cache that, and this is valid for 5 minutes, gets updated. So the agent runs between 30 seconds to 3 minutes, or if any change happens, like from change of status, it will be immediate or spontaneous, a trigger for that to update the OnGuard.